Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to News Nation. Happy Friday. Welcome to where right and left come to be reasonable. I love the Springsteen song, One Step Up. You know, remember that? 1988, that album wasn't Tunnel of Love, wasn't one of his biggest, but I like that song. Great song. But the next line is two steps back. And that's what just happened with this Epstein, dare I say it? I don't think it, but a lot seem to feel it. Have we arrived at dun 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 Epstein Gate? I hope not. I hope not. But if POTUS and his people keep trying to half step on Epstein in terms of disclosure and then distracting with other conspiracy fodder, they are accelerating the swings of extremism here. And I don't know that that works out well. The administration took the right step initially when Trump came out and said to his supporters, hey, enough with the deep rabbit hole of conspiracy stuff around Epstein. It's not there. Let's move forward. He doesn't matter. I respected that move away from the extreme, but he got backlash and he didn't like it. But so he today, or yesterday today, took a step towards transparency, asking a Manhattan federal judge to unseal the grand jury transcripts, I slow down for a reason, from the Jeffrey Epstein case. But remember, this isn't the only Epstein evidence that people want. So don't give them some, you know what I'm saying? The DOJ has documents that they have redacted or chose not to release to the public. Come correct, or it's going to seem as though you did nothing at all. No half-stepping. Which is why the House and Senate Republicans are refusing to legally demand Trump release Epstein documents. Now, to be fair, I think it's a BS move anyway. I don't think the House can force the executive to release things. I don't think it works like that. I think that you'd have to go through the DOJ. Put it to the side. They're half-stepping also, though, because either you believe in Epstein and then vote, but don't say you believe in Epstein but then not vote because you want to not piss off the president. Because this just showed, step back, okay, that you're bound to fealty to Trump instead of the populace, POTUS instead of the populace. That's swampy, okay? Now, I'm not sure if the next one is good or not good, okay? Trump is suing Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal. And it said pro se initially, which I thought was very interesting that the president was going to represent himself. But he isn't. He's going to have counsel. Anyway, he's suing them all $10 billion in damages. And not just on his own behalf, but on behalf of the American people to fight fake news. Now, I said last night, and I meant it, the Wall Street Journal bombshell report was absurd. And the idea that it's just the beginning, pro tip, I'm in journalism since the 90s, okay? No one leads a series with their worst reporting, okay? But I can't say it's a step up either doing this lawsuit, because unless we go to discovery, and I don't know that Mr. Trump wants to sit and answer questions, this feels a little bit like lawfare. And we're supposed to be getting away from that. He's supposed to be against that kind of move. But it's in between. So not a step up, not a step back. We'll call it a sidestep for now. Let's see how it works out, okay? But then did come a real step back. To counter extreme with doubling down on extreme is a mistake, okay? First, the president tried to blame all this Epstein stuff on the Democrats. Fell flat. The MAGA folk who are into this are so into it that that's absurd to them. They followed it too closely. And it also, because his own people, we have years of them in multiple years on video selling the deepest of Epstein holes, okay? But it isn't that it's wrong, it's that, or just that it's wrong. It also feels a little desperate, doesn't it? And that's a bad signal for people, right? So then the leaks flooded with chatter about Trump firing Jerome Powell. This is another extreme thing to play with, the head of the Fed, over the renovation project. A dutiful MAGA member in the House referred him for prosecution. A small thing maybe, but is that a lot of money? Were they straight with it with Congress? I don't know, but I also don't think it's tax dollars that are doing the renovations. I think it's Fed's own reserves. I gotta check that 100%, but I'm not sure that this is really something where Congress needs to be so hot and heavy right now, unless it's kind of a distraction. Though that said, my ample gut tells me Mr. Powell is a marked man. And again, targeting the Fed head is a bad look. And that message echoed back to the White House, I think, because once the reports came out, the markets tanked. And only then did Mr. Trump backpedal and say publicly he wasn't planning on firing Powell. You play with extremes. That's how you get to Epstein Gate. And that's a worry with the next countermeasure. Coincidental to needing a distraction from Epstein, Fox News, of all ironies, Fox News breaks a story that is exactly what the administration needs to remind the MAGA fringe of why they love him. The deep state. Gabbard, DNI, out for former CIA Director Brennan and FBI Director Comey, two of the biggest boogeymen for MAGA. Both now facing criminal investigations for their alleged wrongdoing in the Trump-Russia probe. Gabbard says they have documents that show there was a treasonous conspiracy in 2016 committed by officials at the highest level of our government. Wow. A federal official accusing of treason in an official statement. Think of that. It clearly echoes the calls of what MAGA wants from Epstein, right? But let's take a ginsu to this case. I hope you know what that is. A very sharp knife that doesn't last very long. What do the documents actually say? Just weeks after the 2016 election, the Obama administration found, quote, Russia didn't impact recent U.S. election results by conducting malicious cyber activities against election infrastructure. Key words, results and infrastructure, okay? Gabbard then claims Obama's team leaked fake reports to the media to hurt Trump before he became president, with headlines that U.S. officials believe that Russia wanted Trump to win the election. We're conflating two things here, okay? The reports that are cited don't say Russia hacked our election infrastructure. The reporting has always been that Russia hacked the DNC to try to help Trump. And to claim that, and all the Facebook stuff and all the propaganda that was put out, and that they were trying to interfere with our process, but not that they had affected the outcome, unless Gabbard has more documents and more things than I've seen or that I understand from that time covering it. And then you got to stay open. But even if she's right, this is grounds for treason. That really seems like extreme talk, okay? Because guess who also agreed with the Obama administration assessment that Russia wanted Trump to win the election? The Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee in 2020. And guess who was on that committee that signed off on that assessment? Trump's current Secretary of State and acting National Security Advisor, Marco Rubio. So is it really treasonous? Now, do I think there are lessons to learn from Russiagate? 100%. I wish I could go back knowing what I know now. But live and learn. Life isn't lived like that. Life is lived forward. And absent more than what I saw come out today, I don't think the administration is well served by playing gotcha with Epstein Gate in the air, right? Between that and ice antics and all the other dramas available, I think they should stick to meat and potatoes issues and not play these kinds of games. Let's bring in somebody for perspective who covered the original Gate, who has been watching the development of mission creep within White Houses gone bad for administration upon administration. A mentor of mine to this day. ABC legendary White House correspondent and anchor and man, Sam Donaldson. And of course, you saw it with the original Gate with then President Richard Nixon, and you reached out to me today and said, we need to talk, Christopher, about what we are seeing now and what it reminds you of. Tell us, sir.
Well, the parallels between the Nixon case and the Trump case are really stark. You remember, Nixon was under suspicion that he had helped cover up that burglary, and people maybe have been involved that we don't know about. And there was even testimony from John Dean, his counsel whom he fired, that Nixon himself was probably involved. but it's their word and his word. And then we found out there were tapes. He had taped the Oval Office, all the conversations. And we could hear them talking about Watergate. And if, as he said, I've listened to them and I'm innocent, his innocence would be proved. What did he do? He fought hard, tooth and nail, for weeks, for months, desperately firing the special prosecutor, using every device, as you say, of indirection. What about this? What about that? I'm no crook. Until the Supreme Court ordered him to produce the tapes. He did, which I give him credit for, and he left town. Now here is Mr. Trump, who originally last year was campaigning to an extent on the fact that there's something funny about this Epstein business. It was Obama, it was Biden, it was the libs, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And then when he became president, his new attorney general said, I've got the file on my desk, the Epstein file. All of a sudden, they looked at that file or files, and 180 degrees, he says, I'm not going to release them. And just like President Nixon, he is fighting tooth and nail with indirection, with things that don't serve his purpose, like this suit against the Wall Street Journal. And every time he makes these kinds of moves, we suspect more and more that there is something in those files that goes beyond just partying with young girls with Epstein. If you want more proof, forget the Wall Street Journal article. It's irrelevant. You say absurd that may be, but it's also irrelevant. If you didn't know by now Trump's history of sexual misconduct with women, you have not been paying any attention. So it can't be just that. I think, and I have no idea what it is, there's something in those files that he finds to be a danger to him. He's not protecting.
Sam,
Nixon may have been trying to protect some of his people. Trump doesn't protect anyone but himself. That's my view of it, and we'll see.
No, I got you, Sam. Let me see if there's some contours here. One, let's put to the side that we were dealing with a felony that Nixon absolutely knew about, if not perpetrated himself. And here, this could be a number of things that the president is interested in terms of who or what gets protected. But here's my big problem with your theory. Then why didn't it come out under the Biden administration? If there has ever been an effort to want to take down a political opponent, we saw it during the Biden administration and really during the Obama administration. So why wouldn't they have released it if it's been in there all along?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Let me just give you a positive theory, though. Biden didn't like Trump. Trump doesn't like Biden. Okay. But Biden did not say from the get-go, I'm going to prosecute the former president. Trump has said that of Biden. Biden didn't say from the get-go, I'm going to look into everything that Trump has done, and I'm going to find him guilty of this, that, and the other. Biden didn't do that. So you asked me, why didn't he get into the Epstein file and see if he could find dirt on Trump? Now, he didn't like Trump.
But Sam,
he wished him ill.
Sam.
But he didn't use the tactics.
They wound up going after Trump.
Consistently used tactics that are below the belt on everyone he doesn't like.
No, 100%. I am not here I am the beneficiary and I have received the tactics, my brother. You are more correct than you know, okay? The president can throw as good a low blow as gets thrown in politics. No question about that for me. However, when we look at the facts as we understand them to this point, I do not give the Democrats high ground in terms of their efforts to besmirch Mr. Trump. Those cases in New York were a joke. The cases they brought against him reeked of politics. And if they were willing to do that, to this day, 34 counts, they were 34 of the exact same transaction. But they were willing to do all that stuff, Sam, and you don't think that they would have looked for and released Epstein stuff on Trump?
Well, I don't know. I will tell you something, though. I think we're quite right. The Democrats play the game now according to the rules that Roger Ailes set down. 1988 was a turning point. And then, of course, Ailes was Fox News. It was a knife fight in the alley, and Roger, will bring the biggest knife always. And the Democrats, oh, no. I covered Dukakis. Well, they went after Dukakis because he had released Willie Horton to rape a white woman. Mr.
They
Horton
like
being
painted
black,
his face.
in the campaign. And Dukakis didn't fight back by saying, I'm following the law of the state of Massachusetts, which was brought here by a Republican governor who got it from the first governor who signed it, a man named Ronald Reagan in California. If you want to complain about Mr. Reagan's idea, please do. Dukakis was silent. He wrote a tank. Well, he lost. And then here came in 2004, John Kerry, who won those medals. You can complain properly, throwing them over the wall there at the Capitol was wrong, but he won them in Vietnam. But they swift voted him, and he didn't fight back. Yes, the Democrats have learned how to do it, and I'm not saying I think that's wonderful. I would like to go back to the days when Dwight Eisenhower and Adlai Stevenson fought it out in 1952, my first election, not as a reporter, but as someone paying attention. Both gentlemen, both saying things that today would be in the kindergarten. I'd like to go back to those days, and I think a lot of Americans would. But it is true. But it's now, unfortunately for Mr. Trump, him who's on the hot seat. And he now has to either produce that material or have the suspicions growing in only 12 days. It took 2.5 years for the Nixon case. In only 12 days, that he has got something to hide that is just horrible. That may not be true. I have no idea what it is that is keeping him from releasing the files. But no one manages him. Donald Trump does what he wants to do, and he's the one who says, don't release them.
So we'll see. They seem to be changing their posture. We'll see how far they change it. Let me ask you the definitive word. Have we reached the stage, the level of Epstein Gate?
Well, I hate the word gate because it wasn't at Watergate. But yeah, I say in 12 days, we've come from what to wow, this could be a constitutional explosion. This could be another president who suddenly suffers. And I don't even want to talk about the possible consequences. But I agree with something you say. I don't agree with everything you say, but I agree with most of what you say.
Good.
Not just because you're my boy, okay? And that is, every time they make a move like, well, we'll give you some grand jury testimony. No, it's not. We're asking for all the files, not a little bit here or a little bit there. They hurt themselves. And suing, you're a lawyer. I'm not. He has to face a stand if he actually insists on this suit going forward. Trump does, and he has to tell the truth under oath. If he lies under oath, hey, stick a fork in him, he's done. I'll bet you.
I don't know. These days, I don't know, Sam. I don't know. I don't know if anybody's ever done.
Nothing touches him.
I really don't know.
He walks on water at the moment, and you drown on it,
the true Teflon Don. Sam Donaldson. I love you and I appreciate you. Thank you for your perspective. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on, Sam.
I learned that in 91 years, even though I know what a Kutsu knife is. I know some of your viewers don't. They weren't watching you and Elizabeth. Folks, Elizabeth and Chris and I used to work together. It's a conspiracy. Go get us.
Sam, be well, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right.
4 minutes and 35 seconds. Look, I don't, it's hard for me to say anything about Sam Donaldson. That's not 100%. I agree because he's amazing, because I think that. But I don't think we're there. And I think the instruction is clear, though. Just put it all out or explain why it can't be and do it immediately. Don't try to distract with anything that's kind of like it that will feed maggot. Let's just get on to the big things. There are a lot of good and a lot of bad big things going on right now. The administration is moving in a lot of different directions. You don't have to stay on this path. All right. Now, to all that, Mr. Trump says, shut up, Cuomo. I'm suing Rupert Murdoch. I'm keeping this thing going. You come at me, I come at you. Okay? You hit me, I hit you. $10 billion. He also wants all the grand jury testimony surrounding the Epstein case revealed. What is the legal sufficiency of both moves? Next. So originally, it said that the president was going to represent himself. Then we found out a man named Mr. Brito, B-R-I-T-T-O, would be representing him, and he was going to be on the show with us. But then he was told by his client to stand down for now. What does that mean? I don't know. Could mean that Trump has thought better of this, that Trump doesn't want to blow too much air on these flames right now. Trump doesn't want anybody talking to me. I don't know. I don't know what it is. We try to be fair, and the opportunity will be extended going forward. So $10 billion in damages. President suing on behalf of all of us, he says, because of the birthday card bombshell that the Wall Street Journal said was going to blow, or people said that the Journal was going to blow the lid off the Epstein thing with that clunker. So he also wants, in a separate legal matter, all grand jury testimony surrounding Epstein to be released. Will either of these things come to fruition? Famed defamation lawyer Ken Turkel and former Miami-Dade County Judge Jeffrey Swartz. Good to have you both. Judge, Your Honor, thank you. Counsel, as always, appreciated.
Good to see you, Chris.
Good to see you, Chris.
First, let's do what I care about first. Judge, grand jury testimony, I stipulate, Your Honor, that it shouldn't just be the grand jury testimony. It should be everything that they have. All of it should be there. But with respect to this, as a legal sufficiency, can you get the grand jury testimony?
He can get it with a motion in front of the court to disclose it, but he'll have to come up with good cause for disclosing it. His desire to pick and choose what parts of the grand jury testimony he wants to disclose is not going to be sufficient. If it helps him, that's fine, but that's not the basis for it. There has to be a legal cause for going into court and asking for grand jury testimony.
So, counsel, give it to me. What is it?
On the grand jury testimony, or are we talking about the defamation now? The legal cause?
Yeah. I mean, I trust you. I've talked to you about all kinds of stuff. What do you think? I'm going to just put one little category on you?
No, one day we're supposed to talk about defamation. We ended up talking about the search at Mar-a-Lago.
See what I'm saying?
Ironically enough, I did a case in Palm Beach defending the clerk over a request from the Palm Beach Post to get the grand jury testimony. So I actually briefed it all and so forth. Usually it's in the public interest. You're getting the same arguments you always are getting about access to courts. And, we have a robust dialogue around that. As much as I'm on the plaintiff sides of these cases, Chris, I understand that, but you can't, there has to be a court order entered, period, end of story. And really supposed to be entered as non-adversarial matters where a petition, a miscellaneous petition, at least in Florida, and then you tell the court what your good cause is. I wouldn't say it's perfunctory. I think you need a little more than everybody wants to know. How's that?
Right. I got you. I agree. All right. So let's look at the defamation case. First of all, I'll spare you two because of my respect for your pedigrees, whether or not strategically this is a good thing to do politically, because I don't want to smear you with that. But legally, Turkel, you really believe you win this case any more likely than it was that he would have ever won the 60 Minutes case?
I talked to you about Stephanopoulos. I think we talked, I was on with you. I don't know if I talked to you 60 Minutes. There's been so much political stuff. I could not believe Stephanopoulos was settled. Beyond the fact that, he's not a rapist, he's a sexual abuser. How do you argue that to a jury? They didn't challenge venue. They just rolled on this thing. I thought George was being petty. I didn't like the way he did it, but was it a great case? No, I have to work my butt off in these cases to get money. This thing, $10 billion, Dr. Evil damages, I call him. We don't want 10 million, we want 10 billion, as if we have to put that in our ad damnum clause, which we never do. Judge, you know this. We don't have to put a number in there. But why don't I put 100 gazillion plus a planet somewhere? What you and I agree on constantly, Chris, going back to the New York cases, where we become very kindred souls, and what keeps me waiting for the dinner in Tampa that I didn't get when you were down for the hurricanes. You could have come to the house. I was a mile away from where you were. The New York cases, the lawfare. Let this guy be irrelevant for 4 years. I represented a bunch of people in Tampa on Trump Tower, Tampa, a long time ago. Famous piece by Mike Isikoff. Let it be irrelevant, okay? But when you do these cases, what ends up happening, right? We saw it for 4 years. That Letitia Adams case I thought was ridiculous. You and I were on the same page. He'll counterpunch his way out of anything. Judge, I think you said he can't be touched. You can't call this guy a bad name. He can't come back with a better comeback for, right? He's been doing it his whole life. He's exceptionally good at it. And so I look at this and I say, forget the baseline defamation stuff. I don't file this case. What? Everybody, oh my God, they sent him bad birthday cards. Is that really what we're talking about in America? This is the other thing I agree with you. We got real problems in this country. The interesting.
Well, I also think he's got big issues that could work for him. You know, instead of playing this kind of guy, I said I wouldn't smear you guys with this, but here we are. Look, he could be. But I'm saying, well, yeah, I didn't want you guys to have to talk politics. But in terms of the strategy of this, he's got things that could be going a positive way that he could be talking about right now, and that really matter to the majority in this country, instead of getting into this knife fight over this nonsense, you know, with the Wall Street Journal, with any of the Epstein deep thinkers on this. That's why I didn't see it. But anyway, I don't want to go down that road with you guys. We'll see what happens, and I'll bring you back.
It's a legal strategy, Chris, though. And look at it this way. Yeah. This is something I thought about this case a little in getting ready today. This guy's vilified. If you look at the cases he files, they're a small fraction of how much he's dragged through the media. He chooses legacy media.
He just got called a rapist. He just got called a rapist by a member of Congress.
Yeah, I mean, he chooses legacy media fights. And
he fights battles that he doesn't need to fight. He fights battles he doesn't need to fight because it gets him publicity and it's good for his base. But the truth of the matter is, yes, has he got sufficient allegations in the complaint that's pending to get by a motion to dismiss? Yes. It's all about the discovery. It's all about the attorney's fees. It's all about trying to intimidate the press into paying off, just like CBS did, just like ABC did. And I think we're seeing even more of it in CBS now. That's what it's all about. This complaint,
but I'll tell you what,
really Judge, upon just bare minimums.
Hold on, though. Hold on. One thing, though, and I got to wrap. But one thing that matters here. First of all, Mr. Turkel, thank you for being here. Your Honor, Judge Swartz, thank you for being here. There is a difference here that we want to observe going forward with whether or not he sues, and it is that I just believe we're better served if we leave all the lawfare alone. I really do. I think that it's taken us a place where we don't need to go, and he knows that better than most. But Mr. Turkel, thank you. Judge Swartz, I appreciate you both. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Another big thing happened yesterday in our culture, I think. I was fighting with Dusty about this. I wasn't as impressed by it as she was, and she's probably right. Colbert, if he's the #1 show, which isn't really true because Gutfeld beats him, but he's cable. So of the legacy network shows, he's #1. If they're getting rid of him right after what he said about that payoff that they just gave Trump at his parent company, how is it not related? So what is this really about? A man who has written about me, but more importantly, written about the people who matter in this business almost from the beginning. The best-selling book, Late Shift, his author, the one and only Mr. Carter, is with me.
Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. And yeah, I share your feelings.
I don't know. Is this one of those sorry, not sorry moments? It depends on how you feel about him and his success. I think it's an interesting move, all depending on one question. Why? Okay. Is this because that, there is no mass market anymore and everything is about just picking a niche and the cost structure of this show is just too high for a guy who's basically just a Trump hater professionally? And, there are plenty of reasons to criticize the president, but he picks lots of reasons that aren't even close to being worthwhile. So is that what it is? Or is it because his company, his boss, is owned by Paramount, which just paid off the president for a case that I can't believe they would ever have lost. You may not like the edit that was done with Kamala Harris's interview, but the idea that you were going to win a suit on it, on why it was done, is, to me, crazy. But this big merger that they want to do with Skydance is before Trump. And the connection is horrible. I can't believe Trump even wanted this. It looks so terrible. And Colbert was outspoken about it, okay? Let's play what he said.
Paramount's settlement did not include an apology. Instead, that's good. Instead, the corporation released a statement where they said, "You may take our money, but you will never take our dignity. You may, however, purchase our dignity for the low price of $16 million. We need the cash." I believe this kind of complicated financial settlement with a sitting government official has a technical name in legal circles. It's big fat bribe.
Now, is that why they fired him? Let's assume, yes, okay, that's why they fired him. Remember Norm Macdonald? Probably not. I'm so old these days. Google what happened to Norm Macdonald. If that's why they did it, is this legal? Is this right? Did they have the right, and is it right? Trump, of course, he couldn't be happier. I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. That doesn't work for me. I don't believe in celebrating people's misfortune. But is this the right move? Let's talk to somebody who has been watching the media as long as anyone and has a great eye. Former New York Times media reporter, don't hold that up against him, Bill Carter, written several best-selling books on late-night TV, including The War for Late Night and The Late Shift. Brother Bill, what is your take?
First of all, it's good to see you, Chris. My take is that the timing is crazy suspicious with this. I mean, they could have decided to, if they were forced to dump him because of money, they could have done it in the next 3 months. He's going to be on for another year. They could have done it anytime. But doing it now, when the deal is still not settled, it's going to lead to inevitable questions that this is another bribe situation where they're going to cave and give Trump what he wants. And whether it's true or not, it's a fair inference to draw because Trump hates the guy and has spoken out against the guy. In fact, he literally said CBS should terminate his contract. He literally came out and said that. So now they have done that, and Trump celebrates it. So, I mean, what else can you conclude but there's at least a strong suspicion that it's because Trump wanted to get rid of him and they wanted to make Trump happy?
It is a little weird, though, that in Trump's message on Truth Social, it said, "for a lot less money," in all caps. And they do seem to have a cash crunch going on over there. This is a different tweet that's not as relevant, in my opinion. But, yeah. Okay, but if they're doing what you think they're doing, Brother Bill, why didn't they come out and announce it?
It's a fair inference, Chris. Inference. I'm not saying they right. have reason. The financial thing is real. That's not made up. That's real. The networks are shrinking like a pond in the sun here.
Right, but why wouldn't they put it out? If this was, hey, Mr. President, we don't let people talk about us that way, or to anybody, we don't let people talk about us that way. Why didn't they put out the statement? Why let him define it?
Well, because if this is the reason, they're doing his bidding. They don't want to admit they're doing his bidding. They don't want to say, we're doing this so you'll give us the approval on this merger. That's pusillanimous, obviously, right? So I guess they don't want to look pusillanimous. And, what's bad about it, in my opinion, is if this is true, look, here's the big picture, right? In our country, we don't have a king who decides if the jester doesn't amuse me, I can cut his head off. We don't have that. We're not supposed to have that. But this looks like that kind of deal. And it's not about Norm, by the way. Norm was fired by the NBC chief who hated his jokes about OJ. That it wasn't a politician coming out and saying, no, get rid of this guy. He's making jokes about me. What president has not been made fun of by late night people in your lifetime and mine?
Oh, no, I agree. I agree. But I'm saying that I think Colbert, disrespecting the company, got the axe dropped on his neck. That's why I was likening it to McDonald, because when the executive got pissed at him.
I really don't think that was it. I honestly don't think that was it. Because this is a late night comedian. Letterman made fun of NBC endlessly. They do that. They pick on their company.
Fair point.
That's not exactly the same thing. look, as I said, I don't know the inner workings of this deal. And there's a legitimate point about financial. They were losing money on the show. I don't think they were losing as much as they said. And there were probably creative ways to attack it. You know, NBC dropped the night of Fallon, and there are ways to do a little bit of adjusting your finances. But they decided,
and they announced,
let's chop him off. And Chris, they chopped.
Right, but they announced that they're going to have an extra season.
They what?
Right, but that they're giving him another season too, though, which is also
contract doesn't run out till the end of last year. So if they fired him now, they have to pay him anyway. They have to pay him anyway, so they might as well get the work out of him. That's the way I look at it.
Well, but that makes it less likely that it's really about the finance. I don't know. You could argue it all different kind of ways. One other thing, real quick. I don't think 60 Minutes or CBS News ever in any universe, in any forum, before any jury loses that lawsuit that Trump brought against them for editing the Kamala Harris. I blame them, and ABC is a closer call, but and I love ABC News. I work there, but so I'm biased. But these companies have to stand up to pressure from a politician. There are a lot of cases that you won't settle because you think you have a power imbalance.
Yes.
Now, when there's a power imbalance against you, you cave.
Yes.
You know, if you want to be strong, be strong.
Exactly. And everyone agreed the 60 Minutes suit was a nuisance suit and a ridiculous thing for $20 billion and all of that. But it's the same position. They need this merger. If the merger doesn't go through, Chris, there's a massive penalty fee for the merger falling through.
Yeah.
So it's completely in their interest to make this deal. And Trump is the kind of president you can't believe won't do the worst thing. He will do the worst thing. So I think they're all on the defensive because of that.
I don't like that. You got to fight. You got to fight power. Bill Carter, I appreciate you. I'm sure I don't do it well enough either, but every day is a new chance. Thank you very much, my friend. It's great to see you. Appreciate your perspective.
Okay, great to see you.
Be well, Bill Carter. 4 minutes, 15 seconds. A lot of petty distractions, man. And you're like, yeah, I know, you covered them. I know. It's not easy to figure it out. It's not easy all the time. But every night we try again, okay? So let me get to what matters, literally life and death. I have a guy I want you to hear who says we have to get it right now in Ukraine. There has to be a new rule instituted for Russia and the United States. I want you to hear this guy out. He's literally living the chaos in Kyiv. All right, before the distraction of the Epstein files, okay, you know, we got to keep it straight. Trump made a big move, right? He brought in NATO. He has other countries purchasing the weapons from us to give to Ukraine. But there's another piece to this, okay? It's not just what weapons. It's how people understand they will be used and under what circumstances. This is the key. Dan Rice reached out to me. It's good to have friends that you also do the job with, and said, this is the piece that's missing from this discussion. Have him coming in. He's heading back to Kyiv tomorrow. Former special advisor to Ukraine's military and president of the American University in Ukraine. He's got the only university I have any pull with on the admissions side. Welcome back to Dan Rice. Thank you for coming to us before you head back to Kyiv, which is definitely a more dangerous place since Putin started reacting to the president bringing in NATO. But you say there has to be an understanding about what's going to happen going forward. And what is that understanding and why?
Thanks for having me on, Chris. Yes, it's really important that President Trump has realized that Putin does not want peace. He's given 6 months for it. He realizes Putin doesn't want it. Melania Trump is now a hero in Ukraine, by the way, because she recognized that every time he has a call with Putin, that immediately Putin bombs Kyiv. So Lieutenant General Kellogg is in Kyiv right now. So the Ukrainians say that General Kellogg is the best air defense because they don't bomb Kyiv when he's there. It's because they're terrified of President Trump. So President Trump has also threatened Tomahawk missiles. I've been advocating for these for over a year. You cannot play defense all the time. Mike Tyson said it best. You know, the best defense is a good offense. You know, you need to play offense. We have been providing defensive weapons, Patriot missiles that go up and take down the ballistic missiles that are inbound for Ukraine. They cost $4 million each. Ballistic missiles from Russia cost $1 million. They've been sending thousands of them at Ukraine, targeting things like the Children's Hospital Kyiv. You can't sit there and have this exchange ratio forever. You need to take offensive action. I think in the next 50 days, with the 50 days that President Trump has said. We should provide Tomahawk missiles into Ukraine, land-based Tomahawks. That we have this system available, undisclosed number. Say every single weapon you send in, Putin, every single cruise missile, every single ballistic missile will be responded with one Tomahawk. We can sink the Black Sea fleet that's remaining. Ukraine's already destroyed a third of it. We can destroy airfields. We can destroy the lithium factories, the weapons factories. Tomahawk missiles are incredibly accurate, have great range, and can destroy all of the primary military targets. You need to take offense. This is not escalation. This is proportionality. They fire a ballistic missile at us, we fire one back. That's proportionality. But it's also de-escalation. This is how you de-escalate. Otherwise, you'll spend the next 10 years having Russia fire ballistic missiles into Ukraine, and we fire up Patriots to stop them. This is a very stupid strategy that comes from the last administration. President Trump is here to resolve that. I think he's onto something here. He's threatened Tomahawks. I think he's going to deliver them.
The only thing I can push back on, Dan, is that I think Tyson's line was everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. I think that was Tyson's line. And Putin may need to get punched in the face to understand that he needs a new plan. But Dan, be safe. I'm always a call away. Thank you for checking in with me.
Great to see you, Chris. Thanks for supporting Ukraine.
Brother, be safe. We'll be right back. You know, Dusty is invaluable, right? But we should give some love to other members of the team as well. And she's sitting next to the guy who is giving me brain food all day long. His code name is Kung Fu Panda. He is known to his mother as Ben Norbitz. But you see why I call him Kung Fu Panda. And because he is truly a martial artist when it comes to words and ideas. But man, you do look like him. Chris Cillizza is in for Leland Vittert. And, you know, that's pretty dead on, that reckoning, I got to be honest. I mean, it's like you and Rock Hudson.
Yeah, I'm a big Ben Norbitz fan. Great follow on the social medias, Chris.
Kung Fu Panda?
Yes, well, I mean, that's your nickname, not mine. Thank you, my friend. Have a good weekend.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.